so the next step we're going to talk about here is actually finding properties. How do you go out there? How do you find these properties? How do you find these deals? We've already talked a lot about what properties you should be going after. We've talked about the criteria, the schools, and all those types of things. This is how do I actually go find the property? And there are two ways to find these properties. And I'm going to talk about both of them. One is what's called off-market properties. The second one is called on-market. And you're going to say, well, what's off-market? On-market properties is stuff that's listed on the MLS that's actually for sale. Off-market properties is stuff that's not listed on the MLS. Now, there's some advantages and disadvantages to both, and I want to talk about that. Normally, if you're doing like a fix and flip or something like that, you're going to have to go after off-market properties, because if it's already on the market, you're getting more competition, they're getting a higher price rather than going on an off-market where you can typically negotiate a better deal or find a house in worse condition. But when we're dealing with rental properties, remember, rental properties are going to go up over time. And what I find is a lot of people delay buying rental properties because they're looking for an amazing deal. And you don't have to find an amazing deal for rental properties. It becomes an amazing deal over 10 years or 20 years. That's really what happens. And so I've bought a lot of rental properties off the MLS. I use a strategy called MLS Sniper. And that's how I actually find those properties and use those properties. So if you've got a day job and a family and all that type of stuff, and you're trying to get cash flow and build cash flow for the future, I recommend you use the MLS Sniper and go after properties that are currently listed. If you have the time and you have the money and you have some resources where you can go after off-market properties, you're going to find even better deals, but it's going to take you longer to find those. And so you've got to weigh that out. So we're going to talk about both of these, okay? So off-market properties are properties that are not listed. And so we're looking for two things. We're looking for motivation and we're looking for equity, okay? If somebody has motivation, but they don't have any equity, I can't really help them unless I do a short sale, which means I get the bank to take less than what's owed and go through that process. But there's not really a lot I can do. I need equity and I need motivation. And so you're gonna say, well, how do I find people with equity and motivation? Let's jump over to Investor's Edge. So let's talk first with motivation. Again, this is for off-market properties. So if a property is vacant, meaning nobody's living in the property, that's going to be motivation because somebody's paying taxes, somebody's paying a mortgage, somebody's taking care of the property. If it's in pre-foreclosure, which means it hasn't gone to a foreclosure sale yet, but they've got a notice of default or a lis pendens on the property. So let's just use one. Let's just use bankruptcy because the number was small, and that'll give us an idea. But we want to make sure that with the bankruptcies, we want to make sure that there's actually some equity in this. So just single family houses is what I'm going to look for here. And then estimated equity. I want to make sure they've got at least 75% equity based upon what the computer says. Okay, so I've got 44 properties of that 200 that we estimate have 75% or greater equity that's actually going through a bankruptcy. So this is a more targeted list that I can then go after to try and find these off-market properties. So now I know who I want to go after, and I can do this for every category we just talked about. Now I need to get in contact with these people, and there's a couple of ways to do that. I can save this search or save this list or add this to a list, and we'll just create a new name. We'll just call this rental motivated equity video. Or actually, let's start with video. I do so many demo stuff on this account that it's sometimes hard to find the records that I'm looking for. Okay, so now the idea is we want to do a campaign. So with a campaign, we can do a postcard or we can do an email. If we want to make phone calls to them, we have to skip trace. And to skip trace, we pay for skip tracing. Third-party service does that. And the skip tracing is going to give us their email address, their phone numbers, all that type of stuff. So this is a good example. Here's their names. Here's their mobile phone numbers, their land phone numbers, their email addresses. And so then I can call or text them. or what I can do is send an email to them. If I want to email them, or if I want to send a postcard. If I want to send a postcard, I don't need to skip trace because we know where to send the postcard, and that's the same place where their tax records are being sent to. If I want to email, I do need to skip trace, and if I want to call or text message them, I'm going to need to skip trace as well. So those are my options there. We've got pre-made templates that are already defined. I like the 4x6s. And sort of the predefined, and then there's just different templates that we've got made here for you. You can just come in, you can plug in your information, you can hit a button and it will send it, and off it goes. You don't have to print, you don't have to do anything. You can also do this from your phone while you're sitting in front of a property. You can hit the button and send a postcard out, or you can do a skip trace from your phone and call the person right there from our mobile app. This is a phenomenal way to do this. So that's gonna send those out. If you wanna do the email, you're gonna do the same campaign thing. You're gonna tie it to that, and then you'll be able to send an email, or you can just make phone calls. Now, I'll tell you, this is a lot of work. You're gonna have to go through a lot of people to find the right one. It's gonna take time. It's easy to get discouraged. You gotta plan on those things. So let's say you're in the other boat, which is where I was when I started buying rental properties. I was working full time. I was working as a real estate agent full time for myself, but that was my day job. And so I wanted to find properties, but I didn't have the time or the money to go after the off-market properties. And so what I said is, hey, I'm just gonna find really good deals on the MLS. So what I did is I determined my areas like we talked about, and then I looked at making multiple offers. So I made offers on lots of properties. I kept a really good eye on the market, and every single week I was making some offers on properties that are currently listed on the MLS. So the first thing that you've got to know when we're talking about MLS Sniper is that we're going after properties that are on the market. We'll be making an offer through an agent. We can hire an agent, or we can go directly to the seller's agent and ask that they discount 3% or 2.5%, which is typically the buyer's agent commission. One of the things that I like to do is if you're going to that agent, typically with agents, let's actually let's whiteboard this out. Typically, when a seller hires an agent, they hire a seller's agent, they're going to pay that seller's agent 6% is kind of been the standard, right? They pay 6%. Sometimes that's discounted to 5 or whatever the case is. Sometimes it's flat fee, but kind of industry is around that 6%, okay? Typically what happens is when they list it on the MLS, they say, hey, buyer's agent, if you bring a buyer, I'll pay you 3%, and I'll keep 3%. So if you go to this agent rather than bringing in your own buyer, so a buyer's agent's gonna get paid by the seller, and so you could hire a buyer's agent that's gonna go make all these offers and negotiate, and that might be the right thing for you depending upon your personal circumstance. If you're super busy with kids and work and everything else, find somebody that's hungry, that is willing to make 50 offers for you this year or maybe more, and knows that you're gonna be buying properties every single year, and have them make offers for you and look at stuff every single day and do that. That's more than worth the 3% that they're gonna get paid from the seller's agent. Won't cost you anything, great. If you're trying to save some money and you wanna save the 3% and put that time, you could go directly to the agent and say, hey, I'll tell you what, you're getting 3%, buyer's agent typically gets 3%, why don't I give you 4% and you give me a 2% discount on the price from the seller and only charge the seller 4%. I get a discount, you make a little bit more, and we're all friends. However, that is gonna take more effort on your part in making those offers, contacting the agents, where a buyer's agent could do that for you and not cost you anything. So you've got to look at that. Lots of times people are trying to save a penny. So they're walking over $1 to pick up a dime type of an idea. And so you've got to be careful with this, because in the long run, this house value historically is going to go up about every 10 years. It's going to double, 20 years for sure. We're seeing that double if things happen like they have in the last 50 years. So when we look at that, we don't want to get too caught up on these things, because really it's about staying power. It's about getting something, tying it up, and staying with that for a long period of time. That's where things go really well. Along with that, it's probably worth mentioning interest rates. Interest rates right now are about 6.5%. I've seen interest rates in my day as low as 2.5%, and I've seen them as high as Oh, probably 10%. Okay, so right now rates are at 6.5%. When you buy that property at 6.5%, let's say that was today, you hold on to that, and then at some point you refinance to the lowest rate, and that may take 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I don't know when it will. And then you keep that rate long term. And the difference between this is cash flow, additional cash flow that you're going to get because you're paying less on the interest rate. So if you're holding it for the long term, you're going to get that lower rate. So that's a conversation, how to find the best rates and that type of stuff we can help you with as well. But that is a side note. Okay, so if we're doing this MLS Sniper, let's clear all these filters. We want to go MLS listing is for sale. We could say we want stuff that's been on the market forever, or we can simply say we want stuff that we think is below market value, okay? So we think their asking price is below market value. That doesn't mean it's gonna make a good rental for us, but it's a good start. Let me come here and let's just say estimated loan balance is 42,000. Let's just take this one, okay? Random, just pulling this out, okay? So here, the monthly rent is $1,850. I'm just going to discount it to $1,700 or $1,750. Let's just use $1,700 just to be safe. We're going to come up here and say tax information. Tax information is $1,682. So that meets our thing, $1,682 a year, and $1,682 divided by 1680 divided by 12. Our property taxes are going to be about $140 a month, okay? And then we've got repairs. We've got capital improvements, 5% each. And that's going to come to $170. We've got insurance, which is going to be about $40. And let's just do the numbers. So we've got 1,700 minus 140 minus 170 minus 40. That puts us at $1,350 is how much we have to pay. Okay, so now we come here and we say, okay, it's on the market, property details. Let's come over here to the listing. They have this property listed for $155,000. Okay, so $155,000 with $10,000 down. You might have to put more. You know, it all depends on the financing, and we're here to help you with that. So at 6%, that would put your mortgage payment at $155,000. Your mortgage payment would be $869. Okay, so we subtract that. $1,350 minus $869 equals $481. So if you paid these guys $155,000, which is their asking price for the property, pending that everything's right on the taxes, the insurance, and the rent that you're going to get in, pending all of that, you'd be making $481 a month. Who wants to go do that deal? Okay, right? Okay, so they've got it for sale. It's been on the market for 20 days. $155,000 is what they're asking. Here's the cool thing. Let's go through this property. Does this property need work? Is it in bad shape? What are we dealing with here? Well, maybe we've got to do some updates. Maybe it's not in the best condition. Yeah, it looks like it's a little bit outdated, out of date, you know, that type of stuff. So maybe I'm gonna have to go spend some more money on this property so that I could get the full $1,700. Okay, well, let's say that I negotiate a little bit and say, hey, I'm not gonna pay $155, I'm gonna pay $145, and then I'm gonna go get a hard money loan and I'm gonna spend $30,000 into that, and with fees and everything else, maybe I'm into $185,000. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a BRRRR deal, okay? So let's just put this at $185,000. Okay, $185,000, that puts a payment at $1,049. So let's talk about how we make this a BRRRR deal. And the idea with BRRRR is to come out of pocket with little to no money, okay? Little to no money. So let's say you're able to buy that property at $145,000. Let's say the lender can get you $145,000 plus a $30,000 for the rehab on your hard money loan. There's got to be equity there in the after repaired value, but let's say that can happen. Then you're into it. Let's just call it that $185,000. If you were able to get into that with little to no money down, you can do what's called a rate and term refinance. Now, we already talked about DSCR. And on DSCR, you're probably going to be about a 1-to-2 ratio, meaning that the payment can't be more than 1.2 of what the rent comes in. So if our payment on this is $1,000, let's say, they want us to make sure we're collecting at least $1,200 so we can cover that $1,000 payment. So that's the 1.2 on the DSCR. $185,000, great. We do a rate and term refinance, and then they refinance and pay off the hard money lender. And as long as there's enough equity in the property, say 20%, meaning this property needs to be worth 20% more. So if we take 185 divided by 0.80, it's $231,000. So if this property is worth $231,000 after we get done with that $30,000 worth of work, then a situation like this would happen and we could get in that deal with little to no money down, and you don't have to have income qualifications, W-2s, tax returns, any of those things. You just can't have collections, judgments, that type of stuff. So if you look at this deal, this is a killer deal, guys. Like, this is a deal we want to be looking at. We want to be all over this. We've got all the numbers, we've got the stuff. And guess what? This is an easy one to buy because all I've got to do is just call the agent, okay? So, I can have my agent call, or I can just call. I can call up Austin, say, hey, Austin, I'm interested in this property, like to see it, make an offer. Would you reduce your fees if we do this, if we do that? Here's what I'll do, make the offer under contract. Those are future steps we'll be talking about. And you're gonna be cash flowing 481. Now, let's say you end up spending the 185. Let's say you're into 185,000. Now your 1,049 is your new payment every single month, and you're getting 1,350. So you're getting about a $300 cash flow every single month, which would work for the DSCR. And you've just got yourself into a property with little to no money down. Now, it does take work to make this happen. But this is the concept, and this is how we go after finding these properties, okay? We go after finding these properties. We're gonna do the same math, finding them off-market versus on-market properties. But the on-market properties are just quicker and easy for us to get to, but we're also gonna pay more money. We're gonna do the same math, we're making an offer on it. That's what this is about, and this is how you actually find those properties. Next thing that we're gonna talk about is making those offers.